On a bright, sunny summer's day in 1966, 3 children went missing without a trace from a crowded beach in Australia. Their disappearance would become one of the most haunting and perplexing mysteries in Australian history. More than half a century later, the case of the Beaumont children remains unsolved. This is the chilling story of Jane, Arnna, and Grant Beaumont. T was a normal day in Adelaide, South Australia on January 26, 1966. Australia Day, a day meant for family gatherings, barbecues, and sun-filled fun at the beach. But for one family, it would be the beginning of an unimaginable tragedy. The Beaumont family lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Somerton Park, a middle-class area of Adelaide. Jane was the eldest of 3 children, an intelligent, responsible, and caring girl, just 9 years old. She was the protector of her younger siblings, 7-year-old Arnna and 4-year-old Grant. Their father, Jim Beaumont, worked as a clerk, and their mother, Nancy, was a dedicated housewife. On the surface, the Beaumonts were an ordinary family, living an ordinary life in a quiet neighborhood. But that was all about to change. On the morning of January 26, 1966, the children asked their mother if they could take a trip to Glenelg Beach, a popular beach just a short bus ride away from their home. It was not uncommon for the children to go to the beach, and Nancy, trusting her children and their independence, agreed. At around 10:20 a.m., the children left their home. The bus ride to Glenelg Beach was something they'd done before, so there was no reason for concern. Jane, being the eldest, was responsible for looking after Arnna and Grant. Glenelg Beach was crowded that day. Families, tourists, and locals were enjoying the summer weather, swimming in the ocean, and lounging on the sand. The Beaumont children arrived at the beach around 11:00 a.m., and like any other day, they ran off to enjoy their time by the water. Witnesses later recalled seeing the Beaumont children near the water. Jane, the responsible older sister, made sure to keep an eye on her younger siblings. The children were last seen around 12:15 p.m., playing near the sand dunes. It was not uncommon for children to be out of sight for short periods while at the beach, but no one expected this would be the last time they would see the Beaumont children. As the day went on, no one suspected that something was terribly wrong. By 2 p.m., Nancy Beaumont was expecting the children to return home. She made her way to the bus stop, eager to see her children again. But when she arrived at Glenelg Beach, she found no sign of Jane, Arnna, or Grant. At first, Nancy thought they might still be playing somewhere else, or perhaps had gone to another area of the beach. But as the hours passed and there was still no word from the children, panic began to set in. By 4:00 p.m., Nancy knew something was terribly wrong. Desperate, Nancy contacted the police, and within minutes, a search operation was launched. The police immediately began to question witnesses, asking anyone who might have seen the children or the mysterious man they were reported to have been talking to. Witnesses gave conflicting statements about what they saw that day. Some described seeing the children talking to a man who appeared to be in his 30s or 40s, well-dressed in a light-colored suit. He seemed to be speaking to the children for a few minutes before they walked away together. The search for the Beaumont children was massive. Police scoured the beach and the surrounding area, but there was no sign of the children anywhere. Volunteers joined the effort, combing the sand dunes, checking the ocean, and searching through local parks. For weeks, the search continued. The police received numerous tips from concerned citizens, but each lead turned out to be a dead end. There were reports of sightings in nearby areas, but none of these led to any solid clues. The most prominent lead came from the man seen with the children on the beach. A man described as well-dressed and possibly in his late 30s or early 40s was said to have been in conversation with the children. However, no one could agree on what he looked like, and no one could identify him. The man's description varied from witness to witness, and despite repeated efforts, he was never found. Police soon began to question whether the children had been abducted or if they had simply wandered off. But without any concrete evidence, the case grew colder and colder. As time passed and the police investigation seemed to stall, new theories began to emerge. One of the most troubling was the possibility that the children had been abducted. Some suggested the children were lured away by someone familiar to them, while others speculated that they were taken by a stranger. One of the most prominent theories centered around a man named Harry Phipps, the owner of a local factory near the beach. In the late 1960s, rumors began to circulate that Phipps may have been involved in the children's disappearance. He had a reputation for strange behavior, and some claimed he had been seen in the area at the time of the children's disappearance. But when the police investigated, they found no concrete evidence linking him to the crime. Phipps was never charged, and the lead went cold. Over the next few decades, various other suspects came into focus, including theories about serial killers operating in the area or even the possibility of a pedophile ring. But each theory lacked solid evidence. The case became one of Australia's most famous unsolved mysteries. As the years passed, the emotional toll on the Beaumont family grew. Nancy and Jim Beaumont were never the same after the disappearance of their children. Despite the immense public attention and the media frenzy, they were left to grapple with the horror of not knowing what had happened to their children. The Beaumonts never gave up hope, even as the years turned into decades. The unanswered questions about the children's fate remained a constant source of pain for the family as they continued to live with the knowledge that their 3 children had vanished without a trace. In 2007, after decades of silence, South Australian police announced that they were reopening the investigation into the Beaumont children's disappearance. With advances in forensic technology and new approaches to old evidence, the hope was that fresh eyes could finally shed light on the case. Despite renewed efforts, no new breakthroughs were made in the case. The mystery of the Beaumont children remains as elusive as ever. Over the years, various leads have been followed, and tips have come in from the public, but none have led to a breakthrough. The case continues to captivate the Australian public, sparking theories, investigations, and even attempts by private individuals and journalists to solve the mystery. New documentaries, books, and investigative pieces are regularly produced, each contributing to the growing pool of theories, but none providing a definitive answer. Over the decades, countless theories have been proposed about what happened to the Beaumont children. The most chilling theory suggests that the children were abducted by a stranger, a man who lured them away with promises of candy or toys, or perhaps something more sinister. Another theory revolves around the idea that the children may have been targeted by someone they knew. Whether it was someone from their neighborhood or even a trusted family acquaintance, some believe that a person close to the family may have been involved in their disappearance. This would explain the lack of immediate panic and the children's willingness to leave the beach with the man. But what if there's more to the story than just a random kidnapping or the involvement of a local predator? Some theorists have suggested that the Beaumont children could have been taken for more nefarious purposes, perhaps as part of a larger organized crime ring or even sold to another family. Over the years, authorities have continued to revisit the case. In 2013, police received a tip from a former prisoner who claimed to have information about the children's disappearance. The tip was investigated, but it too led to nothing. And still, the haunting image of those 3 smiling children, Jane, Arnna, and Grant, lingers in the public consciousness. Every year, as the anniversary of their disappearance rolls around, the people of Adelaide and beyond continue to hold their breath, hoping that new evidence will emerge, that the mystery will finally be solved. But with each passing year, the likelihood of a resolution grows slimmer, and the question lingers in the air. What really happened to the Beaumont children? The Beaumont children's case remains one of the most significant and tragic unsolved mysteries in Australian history. Their faces, frozen in time in photographs from their childhood, continue to serve as a reminder of the unanswered questions that surround their disappearance. Jane, Arnna, and Grant may have vanished from the physical world, but their memory lives on in the hearts of the people who continue to search for answers. While the case remains unsolved, the legacy of the Beaumont children continues to inspire both fear and hope. Fear that such a tragedy could happen to any family, and hope that one day the truth will be revealed. As the years go by, their case is not forgotten, and it remains a symbol of loss, mystery, and the quest for justice. What really happened to Jane, Arnna, and Grant Beaumont? Were they taken by a stranger, or was someone closer to them responsible for their disappearance? Did they meet a tragic end, or is there still hope that they are out there somewhere, waiting to be found? Teehee questions remain, and the mystery continues to grip the hearts of all who have followed the case. The Beaumont children's disappearance is a haunting reminder that sometimes, no matter how hard we search, the answers we seek can remain just beyond our reach.